I've interviewed bad players because I am one. I've interviewed good players, and I've interviewed players in between. I guess all that's left now are the pros. We're entering the end of this series finally, and again, all that's left are the professional players to interview, but there is still a lot of ground to cover. I'm going to be splitting up this video that's also a part of the other videos that's part of a larger series. I'm going to be splitting up this video into two different parts, a pro PvE player and a pro PvP player. If you read the title, you probably know which one this is. Today, I am interviewing TSTORM, one of the foremost players in the PvE scene who doesn't really play PvP at all. You may be asking yourself, Ace, this is a series about PvP, why are you interviewing a PvE player? I mean, if I'm gonna get every player's opinion, I might as well get every player's opinion. Now, content creators online are well known for having their opinions always being respected because they are the ones who play the game the most, and they are the ones with contacts with the devs. So people always are very respectful about their opinions. You see, the sentence is funny because it's a lie. Be normal about it, okay? Just be normal. Alright? Okay, cool. Next two episodes, just be normal. Just don't... Yeah, I want you all to be well behaved because I'm really way smaller than these guys on the internet platform, so I don't want to be known as the guy who interviewed people and got them harassed, alright? Awesome. Anyways, as I previously mentioned, TSTORM is one of the best players in the PvE scene, and he streams on Twitch, and he also has a Twitter, so, you know, go follow him. I don't know really why I'm plugging him, he's bigger than me, but here we are. Don't want to be rude. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this interview. Yeah. Alright, anyways, let's get into it. Alright, Mr. TSTORM himself, would you like to introduce yourself, tell a little about what you do, what kind of content you create, and all that?
So yeah, TSTORM, I've kind of played Destiny since Dark Below-ish. I took a break during kind of a span from Black Armory up into Worthy, because I just like lost the game. But then when the pandemic hit, I kind of just had infinite time to play. So really, I think once I built my PC, I kind of started taking this game seriously and just started to, you know, get into any low man solo challenges, raid races, and then just kind of upload them, tweet about them, stream them, that kind of thing. So I kind of just got into content creation, if you say it that way, and just kind of take it relatively casually, but still do it.
So how would you describe your skill level overall in both PvE and PvP? Because I know your content more gears towards that PvE side. I know that's going to be a little different for each version of the game.
Yeah, so PvP, I've kind of hit like a plateau where I just don't want to put in the effort to get better with the current meta, and obviously that's probably going to get delved into later, but PvE, my skill level kind of just, right after the Deepstone Crypt raid race, I kind of realized like, hey, I want to keep doing this, I want to get better at this, you know, place really well, so I started getting into low man challenges, joining like more top tier clans to do that kind of stuff. And you know, I've placed top 100 in the last 4 raid races, hoping to just continue to place higher and just continue to shoot for the belt, all that stuff.
Yeah, awesome. So what would you per se, even though you do main PvE, what percentage of your playtime is PvP?
I'd probably say maybe around 10 to 15%. I spend like basically no time in quick play, but I did go grind up to Ascendant this season, and then I try to play Trials every weekend. I guild flawless like on the first weekend of every season. Usually I've got whatever the max guild flawless is right now. It's either 8 or 9, whatever the max is. I've done that every season. That's mainly what my playtime, like 10 to 15% is sunk into, is just Trials.
Before we get kind of into what makes PvP not so fun to play and why you don't play it as much, what would you say is your favorite loadout / weapon to use in PvP?
So right now, I've been having a lot of fun with on Titan, either Bubble or just running Igneous with conditional finality. I love that shotgun. It's super consistent, and just the way the Titan class plays with it, it's just great.
No, conditional finality has been one of my favorites on Stasis Warlock because I play like a little gremlin where I just throw a stasis grenade in a general direction and just beeline it to them in conditional finality.
Yeah, there you go.
It's so satisfying. I know it's not very fair or balanced, but yeah, I want to hit the thing. This is, I have a feeling, is going to be more towards the modern side of the game. But what is your least favorite loadout or weapon to play against?
That's definitely a loaded question, and there's a lot, but what I think takes the cake for me, it's just gotta be Le Monarch, just because if you're playing against one, yeah, it's extremely annoying, but if you pair it with like two people playing against it, like any line of sight that you're gonna peek, it's just met with Le Monarch, and then you're instantly one shot, and then if you don't get right back into cover right away, or if you're not barricading, or if you don't have a rift set up, you're pretty much just dead, and it's insanely frustrating.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because the last guy I interviewed, Hacks, said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
He absolutely hates Le Monarch, which means the meta is pretty nasty for him right now. What frustrates you the most about PvP? And tangentially, why do you not make content on it as much as PvE?
I think it's just because there's a lack of, like, what's the word I'm looking for? New things, lack of uniqueness in, like, new game modes or shifting the meta up or new maps. Like, we've seen barely any new maps. We don't get new maps anymore, which is insanely frustrating. It's like you have this whole other side of your game that I'd say half of your players are in PvE, half are in PvP, but one side just gets absolutely zero care to it, basically. Bungie fails to look at the meta and say, this, even though it doesn't have a high usage, this gun is a problem. You know, we have to nerf this. Certain weapons, this one's not looking good right now. This one is bad on all maps. This one is absolutely destroying people on all maps. And then they just don't do anything about it. And it's a thing of like, there used to be a massive skill gap in Destiny 2, and now it's just shrinking. There's barely any skill gap in any game mode in Destiny, just because of ability to gunplay ratio, which is awful right now, and then just the guns that are being used with it, like Immortal, which is just, it's becoming bad. Yeah.
What do you like about PvP, and what might convince you to make that PvP content?
I don't know if there's anything that'll ever make me make PvP content, but what I always like about Destiny PvP is just the gunplay. When it's actually good, it's one of the best feeling shooters out there, if not the best. Whenever the meta's good, and like new guns look good, and the maps feel good, and just the gunplay and gameplay is smooth, that's when like Destiny PvP is at its best. And when there's something to chase, like they still need another comp rework because the new one that they just brought out was just completely half-baked. It basically changed nothing. So there's nothing really to chase. Like, I want Destiny to give a true ranked system where it's like, there's not a max rank. There's the top rank, but then there's obviously like MMR and skill rating in that rank.
Like, something that's more top 500 Overwatchy, like where you can actually see leaderboards?
Yeah, something like that, where you get a leaderboard and just something to chase. But the reason I do like PvP sometimes when it's good is just the way the game feels. That's pretty much it.
In comparison to PvE, how would you describe the state of PvP? So, again, the other people I've mostly asked just how do you feel about PvP in general, but since you do make PvE content, you're one of the top PvE players, to be frank, but how would you describe that side of the game in comparison to PvP?
Like, I think PvE, it's having its struggles right now. You know, Root of Nightmares isn't great, obviously. It's still okay. But, like, looking at PvP from the outside, just, like, especially even this last weekend in Trials, I stepped maybe 10 games in with 3 stacks. Worst thing I've ever played in, like, a year. It's gotta be the worst trial sessions I've ever had. So, like, if they continue going down this, I guess, rabbit hole of trying new things, and then they stick on something that's really, really bad, PvP is going to be in one of the worst states ever. It's in a very much limbo state right now. They can either turn it and make it okay, and we'll be in a fine spot, or they can turn the knob the other way, and we can just be in a complete dumpster fire of PvP state, pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's what a lot of people are scared of. And again, the other 2 people I've talked to have also said that it's actually pretty close to being pretty well balanced. There's, of course, some really huge problems like Le Monarch and Immortal still flying around out there. But it's possible for this game to be good again. At the same time, it's equally possible for it to just get worse. And I think it's what a lot of people are scared of. One of the final questions, if you could add or change one thing to the game, what would it be? Doesn't matter what it is, just to PvP in general. If you could just add something that might get you to play more, what would you add?
I think a lot of people have been advocating for this, but kind of a bare bones game mode, no abilities at all, like no shoulder charges, no charged melees, nades, whatever. Just bare bones, limited gunplay options, like maybe there's a bare bones playlist where it's like you're only going to play against this set of weapons this week. Like these are the weapons that are in the bare bones playlist this week. You have to use one of these weapons to be able to queue in, and these are the only weapons you're going to play against. And there's no abilities with it. You know, it's something innovative. It's rotating weapons, so like you get to play with different weapons maybe that you're not so good with, but then you can get better with those weapons without having to play against abilities, playing against the meta weapons. Like, let's say, for example, you want to get better with hand cannons, but, I mean, they have been out of the meta, they might come back, but if you're newer, you want to get better with hand cannons. But every time you want to get better with hand cannons, it's met with mass ability spam, you know, sidearms, SMGs, pulses that flinch you just up to the moon, you know? Something where there's a rotating weapon set that you have to use in this bare bones playlist with no abilities could, like, really benefit people trying to get better at this game. I think that would be what I want to add.
That's actually pretty smart. And then this is the last question, but it's the surprise question I like to, you know, spring on people. But you're just giving the reins to Bungie HQ, and they say, all right, season 24, 25, whatever it is down the line, you just get to design a season around one topic. You get to pick one thing, like story concept you want in it. You get to pick a raid on a certain topic. I don't care. If you got the reins to Bungie and you got to just make a season, I don't care if you want to do away with the seasons and just say, screw it, I just want to add maps or something. If you were just given the reins to Bungie, what would you make?
See, the easy answer here is to just say a Operation Health sort of thing like Rainbow did, but that panned out awfully. We don't talk about that. So if we were like to dive into one story, raid, dungeon concept or whatever, I'd want to like dive back into the Plague Lands from D1, you know. I know people are going to say reused, but like most seasons, you know, don't go to new places. I want to dive back into the Plague Lands and see like if there's some sort of darkness entity, right? That's kind of infected all the once fallen Siva, and they kind of evolve. And then the Plague Land is just completely reinvented. And then we dive into, like, I won't say a raid, but, like, a Darkness Siva dungeon. I think that would be really cool.
That tweet hurt a little bit when I saw it was like, Bungie has no plans for Siva in the future. I was like, oh, a piece of my heart faded on that day.
That was unfortunate.
Yeah, we can only pray to the bungo gods above that Wrath is the raid coming back this summer, because if it's not, there will be riots.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. That's all I have for you today, though. Again, thanks for coming in and doing this interview. I'll have it stitched up and slapped on the internet by this weekend.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
And that's the interview. I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, here's TSTORM'S socials. You should go follow them and sub to him on Twitch. Again, he's bigger than me, so I'm just plugging this out of courtesy. Most of you probably know him more than me. Anyways, I know that as a content creator, it can be hard to be determined to do things, and especially if you're a professional at this game. So he sees a lot of the same issues that people on the PvP side have been seeing, but at the same time, he's just not very interested. And that's completely fair. Again, I could go through and interview all the levels of PvE mains and do that whole series again. And maybe I'll do that on PvE itself if you guys want. But at the same time, I know I'm pretty much going to get the same answer from everybody, and the fact that it's just not that interesting to them. So there's going to be different reasons, obviously. But again, it's just a part of, if he's not interested, he's not interested. That's all there is to it. I'm not very interested. I don't play PvP all that much. Although, I have concerningly started recently, and I think something's wrong with me now. I don't know, maybe this series has broken me, and maybe it's all alright, and I'll be okay, and I just need to take my meds. Yep. I do find it interesting that something that I bet I will find once I interview a pro PvP main is that the issues that we experience as a community only are compounded for the professional players, and that's why sometimes it feels like their opinions can be so aggressive. This is what they do for a living. They do this constantly. So for us, what might be a small issue that we might have to deal with on a daily basis, maybe, for them, it happens to them all of the time, and so therefore it becomes doubly as frustrating, doubly as irritating to play. Again, skill-based matchmaking might not be a problem for the lowly layman who doesn't really have a problem with connections because there's such a big pool of players to play against, but for somebody way up at the top, that can be really, really hard to deal with. But hey, they're a content creator, so let's disregard their opinion. Yeah! How epic and wholesome and based of me. I think that's great. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I have memberships now, so if you want to give me money, you can see behind the scenes stuff. Other than that, I have to get back to interviewing people and making videos and doing stuff about Season of the Deep and whatever else. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!